Matrix News Live. Hi, this is Tim Clark, the End Times Matrix News, coming to you live today. And we're going to be discussing a couple segments for this mini podcast. I'm still working on the iTunes podcast at this time. But for right now, what I'm going to do is just post these to YouTube, and we'll put some video on there, and we'll probably continue with that as we progress in this new endeavor for me as far as developing these podcasts, short ones, longer ones. It just depends on interviews and things like that. Trying to get into news in the last couple months here, as far as we don't know what we're going to face in the near future, as far as the ability to speak freely. And that's part of what today's segment's about. And we'll go ahead and start right now. The first segment that I want to address today is the facial recognition software, the monitoring software that's being implemented throughout all of society. I thought it was pretty interesting. I can't remember who pointed this out to me. I'm sorry about that. But I noticed these things from Minority Report, from a lot of canceled television shows that have used this facial recognition software in their formats. Then they have shown people as they walk by screens, all their ad information starts popping up as they're walking down hallways of things that they would be interested in based on their past purchasing behavior. And that's how, people like Amazon, you can see it when you go to the internet and you pull up Facebook or stuff like that. You'll see they'll pop up ads of things you just recently searched, trying to get you to do an impulse buy so they can fill their little greedy pockets with the information they've been scamming from you. Invasion of privacy, or the illusion of no privacy. And so that is what I'm addressing today. But this situation I want to address is about ChurchX. ChurchX is a very interesting development that I was not aware of until recently when we came across this. The way it's spelled is ChurchX.com, if you want to reference that as I'm discussing in this podcast. What you'll see is that it's a facial recognition system for church events, so pastors can track what's going on with their parishioners, who's attending what event, Sunday sermons, Sunday night sermons, rock events, different things like that. And the question just jumps right into any Christian's head. You don't have to be paranoid or anything about this, but it just jumps into your head as, what is the purpose of monitoring people without their permission? Or if they attend your church, I guess they're giving you their permission by attending your church. But what is the purpose? I mean, honestly, in this day and age of the beast system, these churches with pastors or deacons that are willing to look at you from these software, and of course you can read this website and they'll tell you the benefits of it. I don't see any benefit other than just monitoring a surveillance grid. I mean, basically this is NSA, Homeland Security, CIA, all the alphabet agencies that are not trustworthy, that abuse your privileges. And so they get into the church, they see where you are, they see what you're attending. And, it's great if you're going to be a FEMA camp pastor and you're going to take your whole congregation to the FEMA camp on the Joel Osteen short bus. I guess it's great if you just want to be line up in the guillotines because they can just monitor your attendance and your facial ID and which church you attended at. I thought of a much more creative way of using this system. I thought that, wow, this is really good for pastors because, if you remember Minority Report, that was like pre-crime. Well, why can't we use this for like pre-sin? Pre-sin would be great. People walking down the hallway and their face comes up and they said, based on your backsliding in the past, you're going to have Joe Bob over there is going to have some problems with lust, so maybe 55% of the people walking down the hallway here, maybe I need to preach on lust this week. Or maybe we can have an intervention pre-sin group, where you just show up on people's doorsteps and say, based by your lack of attendance and based by your backsliding in the past, we can pretty much judge that you relapsed and you're boozing away here, or you're hitting the doobie, or you're doing something. And, we're here to intervene before you commit any further sins. So I think that's really interesting, invading your soul, invading your privacy. So who needs the Holy Spirit when you got a pre-sin, church intervention group? And so that's what's really interesting about this. But I went further with this to see who they're affiliated with. And they're affiliated with a group called Face 6, and I'm sure there's some interesting gematria in their logo. If you go to www.face-6.com, you get to see they have some interesting logos up there. Don't really want to get into it too much. I'm sure there's some gematria in this website, but they say that they provide services for airports, border control, law enforcement, casinos, commercial, and home security. And so you can just imagine what they'll do with all this type of information. I mean, it's like no privacy anywhere. I mean, it's they know your habits, they know what your services you're attending, which tithing services that you're avoiding. They'll say, "Hey, Joe Bob's avoiding tithing services, so we got to get him." And also, this also associated with some of this other facial recognition technology. I'm just lumping it all in there. It's just a spinoff of what I found with the Church X stuff, bi2technologies.com has under their products listing several names of products that they advertise for monitoring, and I just wanted to go through it. They have one called Iris, the Inmate Identification and Recognition System. Positively identifies inmates and visitors using the most mathematically unique biometric, the iris. So the videos they show on this site, they show sheriffs using iris, kind of like it's your cell phone with this app on it for iris. They can just put it up to your app, line it up, and take a picture like you take pictures with your cell phone. And then it runs it through a database, and they can just ID you. So, the great use of this, after they get past saving puppies and saving children and identity fraud and terrorists, all this, you think about how they're really going to use it. Just like the IBM used it in World War II, they used their little new they used their punch card system. They sold it to Germany. With the concentration camps, so that they could identify the Jews in the concentration camps, so they could exterminate them more efficiently. And so you look at past behavior, history repeats itself. We have technology being used to identify the enemies of the state, which were the Jews in World War II. So who's the enemy of the state these days? Well, it's fundamentalist Christians. So you can just see these little applications as you're walking around the streets. It says a rabid YouTube fundamentalist pastor pops up over the head of this guy walking over here. This one says this one's a fundamentalist. This one's a Walmart pastor. He reads T.D. Jakes. Or it just can say enemy of the state or subversive or terrorist. Probably just terrorists, since they're training everybody to think everybody's a terrorist who actually can think for themselves. And I've already told people that we've had several preconditioning shows on TV that have identified self-radicalized terrorists being developed in this country. And the most recent one, of course, is the guy blowing up something on the South Beach in Florida. Bombers love to go to the beach and blow up sandcastles. It's a test run. So they get this junk in your head all over the place. Also, just that current story about the two kids floating off on their boat. I think that is a connected story to this whole chipping or GPS type of a system to show parents, if they don't want to lose their kids at seas, that we need to move so we can save these kids. It's always save the kids and save the pets through chipping. And then all of a sudden you're a fundamentalist terrorist. That's the next application. Or the FEMA camp, identify you for FEMA camp relocation based on some scan somewhere. So the products they're showing here on Buy Two Technologies is Iris. It's for arrest, intake, and booking, visitation, door entry, medical, work release. And then it's got Saurus. That's another one. It is a secure web-based national system that registers and positively identifies convicted sex offenders. So Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, they should pop up in that system there, but I don't think they do. The elite, I don't think, have to subject themselves to this, since the whole elite foundation is nothing but a bunch of pedophiles and inbreds. That's just my opinion, and I'm sure that some system somewhere is categorizing me right now so that they can pop up a terrorist title over my head at some point in the future because I spoke out against our supreme overlords that are destroying society on purpose. So the next one is Morris. Is a handheld biometric device based on the iPhone that can recognize and identify people based on iris, face, or fingerprint. That's nice. The Child Project. Again, here we go. A secure nationwide network and registry which enables law enforcement and social service agencies. We love social services because they're the ones that are going to come take away the homeschoolers in the future because of the bad parents who actually want their kids' brains to work and not be indoctrinated by Communist Corps, which Jeb Bush fully supports Communist Corps. Senior Safety Net is the next one. Again, this is one for us that have wandering seniors like I do. I have Alzheimer's and dementia adults, and they've wandered. And I grew up with my wandering dementia grandma back in the 70s. Everybody would like that. They always do these things. I always feel like I'm watching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And the child catcher's there handing out candy, and he lures you into the cage, and then that's what these guys are. They're the child catchers. They always try to lure you with candy, and then they clamp the cage shut, and you're locked up. CID. The CID system provides positive verified identification for maritime. Look at this. And I didn't even know this was on here. After I comment about the kids going out to sea. The maritime, cruise, and port industries using the most mathematically unique biometric, the iris. Training ships, law enforcement, airports, educational facilities have been utilizing iris biometric recognition technology for essential tasks such as door entry. So you can't just see putting your little eye up on your cruise ship so you can enter your little cabin door. Visits, time clocks, entry, egress reports. Okay, so you just walk off this ship in the Bahamas, and you walk right through this hallway where these cameras are all set up, and it's just IDing your entry into the Bahamas, or something like that, without you having to have all your passport information and things. Essentia. The Essentia system significantly reduces manufacturing and commercial factory and plant costs by enrolling, identifying, verifying, providing critical knowledge, data, and information on current and prospective employees to human resource. Wouldn't that be fun just to have that one? To look at Joe Bob. Joe Bob walks in and says, take a little iris scan and said, oh, you failed 3 P tests in your history. So, you're a high risk of, using some controlled substance. And, oh, no, I've changed. Well, I'm sorry, Joe Bob. The iris scan never lies to us, Joe Bob. And, Joe Bob, you can't have this job because you don't have any privacy anymore in your life. So, no matter that you repented and changed your ways and all this, your P tests on the iris scan are going to disqualify you from any employment. So it's lovely. I mean, this is lovely. This is a Big Brother, Orwellian state. This only benefits people who are at the top of the pyramid. This doesn't benefit anybody. This benefits the hired thugs, the Hessians that are going to be the middle tier that enforce the societal rules. And I'm sorry for the police officers. The only ones that the local police. They'll just slowly militarize everybody, and they'll take away the authority of the local police as they centralize everything into this Nazi police state that we call Mystery Babylon right now. And so that was the first segment I wanted to do, just on the iris, the identification system, specifically related to churches doing it. I mean, how insane can you be to actually be attending a church and they're using beast system technology? I reported a year or so ago on the finger scan tithing technology that they use at a church also. So here they are invading the churches with their police state so they can monitor if you're falling asleep in the pew because you don't want to hear another tithing sermon. So I'll start segment 2 here of this in 1 minute.
There is no political solution to a troubled evolution. Have no faith in Constitution. There is no bloody revolution. We are spirits in the material world. Our so-called leaders speak with words they try to jail ya. They subjugate the meek, but it's a rhetoric of failure. We are spirits in the material world. Where does the answer lie? Living from day to day. If there's something we can buy, there must be another way. We are spirits in the material world. Spirits in the material world. We are spirits in the material world. We are spirits in the material world.
We are back for segment 2 of this podcast, and I found this to be an interesting piece of information sent to me by Kevin. So I'll thank him for sending me the documentation here. I can remember back when I was involved with the Tea Party group locally, and I used to joke I'm the youngest member of the Tea Party because everybody in the Tea Party has gray hair and is a senior citizen trying to save the country for their grandchildren. And that's pretty much what it was several years back when the original Tea Party movement started. And it was to address how Washington, D.C. was going over the cliff and not representing the people anymore, in which they, of course, are not. It's a one-party system run by the elite, and a bunch of prostitutes are taking bribes at the top levels. Boehner, the Republicans, Obama, all these people at the top, all are in it together. And we know that. And I don't have to explain it to the folks who listen to these podcasts. It's very obvious that they're paid off. They pass these TPP bills or TPA, not the TPP officially, but that basically guarantees third world status for the American public, and all the kids coming up will be impoverished. And you just get with the communist core and become a banana republic, basically. So I found this interesting, the Kenya thing with Barack Obama going to Kenya. And of course, he's spreading the image of America as Mystery Babylon and deserving of being destroyed. So this is all the preparatory work before we get the nuclear bombs dropped on us for being out of control by the other conspirators who are given the task of starting war with the United States after secret agent Barry Soetoro does his destroy the office of the presidency. And of course, you can go back and look at the Hollywood movies, Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down, to show you that the destruction of the White House, the office of the presidency, is part of it. And it's interesting that they have a black president in one of those movies, but it's orchestrated. This is our alphabet agencies who work for the elite. And it's not hard to check that out. You just look at Freemason, Skull and Bones, CIA, Bush 1, and that the Skull and Bones jokers put all their Skull and Bones buddies in the top slots of agencies, and then they put their little guys on the take inside within the agencies. It doesn't mean that everybody in these agencies is bad, but the ones who are bad have the power and are at the center of the power, and they have full access to all information. And so this was interesting. The Kenya trip, I know that Africa is targeted by the elites because of their vast amounts of mineral wealth, and of course they're trying to destroy the populations of that country and keep them impoverished and stuff like that. So there's trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of mineral rights in Africa that all the elite are going after. And so that is their next campaign, is to enslave Africa or run people off these mineral deposits. So I found it interesting that Kevin sent this thing on the birth certificate. Now, people got a whole big stink last election cycle based on this birther thing, and that's what Sean Hannity and all these other morons that are on conservative radio and TV say. They just come up with these little one-liners to say you're a conspiracy theorist or you're a birther, or just because they're paid prostitutes and they're part of the system. That they get their paycheck for kissing the rear end of the Catholic Diocese of New York. That's what the Jesuit News Network in New York gets. So with their Cardinal Pope of America Dolan and all the other sellouts that say they're Christians or say they're conservatives, but they're just total sellouts, and they just want to keep their little chair in the bunker when things go down. So this article, I'm putting up pictures of the birth certificates for you as we're talking about it, but this is a Kenyan birth certificate from Mombasa. And I'll just read the information for you. It says, Obama's authentic birth certificate from Coast Memorial Hospital in Mombasa, Kenya. Now, the task is to get the courts to authenticate and then kick Obama out of office. Now, that's not going to happen. Here it is, the document we have been waiting for. Now, if only somebody in Congress or the Supreme Court will act on this. And everybody laughs when you say Supreme Court because they just legislated from the bench the gay marriage thing, which is totally goes against all laws of the United States. So the Supreme Court is irrelevant at this point. They've shown that office is no longer to be trusted. Judge Roberts did that also when he did the Obamacare mandate and went against the American people and did his master's bidding from the Vatican to go ahead and enslave the population of the United States through the Supreme Court, and we aren't represented, so I'll get past that. That's obvious at this point. It says, here's a close-up at the top of the document where you can plainly read his name and his parents' names, etc. A British history buff was asked if he could find out the colonial registrar was for Mombasa in 1961. After only a few minutes of research, he called back and said, Sir Edward F. Lavender. Note the same name near the bottom of the photo above. So, as you can see, your signature of registrar is E.F. Lavender, 5th of August, 1961. And the names of the father is Barack Hussein Obama, Stanley Ann Obama, and let's see, the date and place of birth, 4th August 1961 at Coastal General Hospital, Mombasa. And so the Christian name, it says there, Barack Hussein II. Okay. And as you go below, you can see there's the registrar's signature, deputy registrar. And we have another picture of this full birth certificate. And so the real deal, a legal kind of certificate, the Mombasa Registrar of Births has testified that Obama's birth certificate from Coast Province General Hospital in Mombasa is genuine. This copy was obtained by Lucas Smith through the help of Kenyan colonel who recently got it directly from the Coast General Hospital in Mombasa, Kenya. Here it is. Note the footprint. The local Muslim imam in Mombasa named Barack with his Muslim middle name Hussein, so his official name on the certificate is Barack Hussein Obama II. Okay. And so there it says what's going on there. Coast Province General Hospital, Mombasa, British Proctorate of Kenya, certificate of birth. Okay, Stanley Ann Obama Dunham, Barack Hussein Obama, the 4th day of August, 1961, 7 pounds, 1 ounce, 18 inches, 6 inches. Let's see, residence of mother, Honolulu, Hawaii. Birthplace of mother, Wichita, Kansas. Birthplace of father, some Kenyan name. Whatever it says. I can't read that. And so there you go, right there. It is right there. So the grandmother of Barack Hussein Obama Jr. reveals the story of his birth in Mombasa, Kenya, a seaport after his mother suffered labor pains while swimming at Ocean Beach in Mombasa. Obama's mother, father, and grandmother were attending a Muslim festival in Mombasa, Kenya. Mother had been refused entry to airport planes due to her 9-month pregnancy. It was a hot August day at the festival, so the Obamas went to the beach to cool off. While swimming in the ocean, his mother experienced labor pains, so was rushed to Coast Provincial General Hospital in Mombasa, Kenya, where Obama was born a few hours later at 7:21 p.m. on August 4th, 1961. What a sad day for the USA. 4 days later, his mother flew to Hawaii, registered his birth in Honolulu as her certificate of live birth, which omitted to place in hospital of birth. Letter from Kitao in Mombasa, Kenya. I happen to be Kenyan. I was born 1 month before Obama at Mombasa Medical Center. I am a teacher here at M.M. Shaw Primary School in Kenya. I compared my birth certificate to the one that has been put out by Tights, and mine is exactly the same. I even have the same registrar and format. So they're saying that it's an identical match. at time and all this stuff. The birth certificate is genuine. I assure you it will be authenticated by a forensic auditor. We are very proud. Obama was born here. We have a shrine for him, and there are many people who remember his birth here as he had a white mother. They are being interviewed now by one of your media outlets. Fortunately, they even have pictures of his parents with him immediately after his birth at Mombasa Hospital. With the hospital in the background, it will be a proud day for us when it is proven that he was born here and a Kenyan became the most powerful man in the world. I encourage anyone to come here and visit. I will be happy to take you on whatever. This Katal person. So, let's see. Name, Barry Satora. Religion, Islam. Nationality, Islam. Okay. So basically, more than enough proof to say that this guy is a foreign agent propped up by Muslim benefactors from Saudi Arabia or Qatar to pay for his Occidental College, and used by Brzezinski at Occidental College, recruited for a CIA op against the American people to destroy the fabric of America, to fundamentally change the fabric of America. And I remember the day that the Tea Party group that I was with had the authenticators, official notary type folks who look at documentation, and presented it to the FBI that this is false documentation of Barack Obama. This is a fraud. And FBI, of course, did nothing with it, and they basically turned their back on the people and were rude about it. So that's where we are. Barack Obama, foreign agent, destroyer of America, along with John Boehner and Paul Ryan and all the other Catholic sellouts that are kissing the Pope's rear to basically complete the counter-reformation here in America and give the Pope his one world order. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. End Times Matrix News Live. End Times Matrix News Live.